Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Horse's Mouth Live. As always, I have great guests to bring you fabulous information to help you not only in your business, but in your life as well. And really thought a lot about, especially with what's going on in the world, how we could bring a guest in to have a conversation about when things are challenging, when things are stressful, how do we have more resilience? And so today, and I'm going to give you her formal introduction in a second, but we have Stephanie Klein, who I met a few years ago as we both were trained in the Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute, which is the mindfulness and emotional intelligence program that was born at Google. We're both certified teachers in this. And I met Steph through that program. And she's so gifted in this. And I was thrilled when she said she would be on the show with us today. So let me give you a little bit about Stephanie's formal background. What I love is that she comes to this practice with so much deep professional experience. For nearly 30 years, Stephanie worked with Fortune 500 brands as the chief marketing officer, and she was in financial services for more than 10 years, and she's now an executive coach and an emotional intelligence expert. She founded Mindfire Mastery, and she works with business leaders to help them overcome challenges, to catapult from being just functional to optimal. And I love that she calls herself a creative catalyst. She comes to her work with so much deep personal experience and also professional experience. Her first book's coming out next year, which I can't wait to read, and I'll tell you guys all about it when it comes out. It's called Waking Up on the Right Side of Wrong. And in case you couldn't tell by everything I just told you, Stephanie is really a smarty pants too. She went to Duke undergrad and has her MBA from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. Welcome, Stephanie. I'm so excited to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much, Ellen, for that beautiful introduction. I'm delighted to be here with you.
Yeah, so this term of resilience and why is it so important now? I'd really like to talk about how do we start to build more resilience, or as you call it, bulletproof resilience in our, whether it's our professional lives or our personal lives?
Yeah, so it's a great place to start. And it's funny. I've been working on this book now for about a year and a half, and I can't think of a time in my life, and certainly in the history that I've been alive, where we've needed it more than ever. And I think there's a lot of different definitions out there of what resilience is, but in essence, the way I like to think about it is that we we're able to bounce forward with buoyancy beyond whatever holds us back. And so it's really about not coming up against a barrier that then gets us to sort of stop in our tracks and fall down or retreat, but instead to figure out how we sort of metaphor that comes to my mind is a wave. Sort of how do we ride that wave and move on to the next to the next frontier, to the next chapter, to the next area. And there's just a little funny story to it's a bit of a metaphor around the wave that I like. But it really is a personal story of mine in terms of what happens when you're not resilient. I was actually on a holiday in the Amalfi Coast and Radiant Sea, and I'm stand up paddling, beautiful, and there's not a wave in sight. And I'm out there, and all of a sudden, I see all my friends. We're there for a wedding, so I have many friends on the shore, and they're all waving at me like this, like be careful, something's happening. And I look around and I see there's a huge boat. And I'm not worried it's going to actually hit me, but it is coming towards me. And I see these waves starting to roil up, there's the big, big waves coming. And they're clearly all, miming at me what I should be doing, and I can't understand a thing that they're saying. And so I think, okay, see the boat. I know a wave is coming, and I'm just going to focus and be really positive and, stand with balance and hope it's all okay. And so I did this, right? And do you think, what do you think happened, Ellen? It didn't work. I basically, that wave came, and I not only fell off, but it was like I flipped over. Like I flipped over head first. My friend has a picture of me with my feet up in the air, literally coming out of the water. I was underwater, literally head underwater. And it was amazing because there's this metaphor really of that's what happens when you don't adapt, when you don't pivot, when you hold too firmly and tightly to that paddleboard. I was doing exactly what I was doing before the wave came, and that wasn't going to serve me based on what was going on in my environment. And so that when you asked, what do we do? Well, first we do focus on the fact a wave is coming towards you, right? It's coming your way. And then you have to adapt. You have to pivot. You have to say, all right, what is called for in this moment? Because something's happening and I need to adapt. And actually, had I just pivoted my stance that I learned later, I could have not just stayed on the board, but I could have ridden the wave. I could have been a little bit, of a surfer and moved forward in a really agile way. And so I think that those are the two key things that you do at first. And I have in my book, I'm going through starting with focus, moving to adapting and pivoting, and then really stretching and ultimately transforming and thriving. So I have about 8 principles that fit underneath those 4 areas, but this pivoting and this adapting so that we can not fall, but in my mind, even move forward with more ease and flow because we're able to handle whatever comes our way. That to me is, resilience on steroids or bulletproof resilience,
And
a
I
little,
can see a
catchy way
lot
to
of
say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see a lot of people right now using your metaphor being like, "Oh, there's a wave," and actually not knowing what to do. Or like you said, like bunkering down, like it's really what I see probably most people do versus like how we'd love to think that we could be more agile and flexible and know how to manipulate or maneuver during this time. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of people aren't trained in this. So, what are some ways that we can be more flexible or resilient or I like agile, like that thought? Who wouldn't
Yeah,
want to be
agile's
like
great.
that?
Exactly, exactly. Well, there's one superpower that I think is really amazing, and we learned bits of this in our emotional intelligence class. So I know that you know the answer to this, but I will share. Um, Martin Seligman, who is the father of positive psychology, he actually started out with a whole different, really a whole different route. And psychology then was all about what wasn't going right and really studying that. And they went through a whole series of experiments and really worked on learned helplessness and the fact that when things don't go right over and over, people learn that it's not going to go right and they just stop trying. There's just this learned helplessness that arises. And what was fascinating to him was, well, he got kind of depressed, I think, just studying this. But what fascinated him was this question of why there was always a small portion of these experimentees, rats or what you will, who they 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 kept trying no matter what. They did not learn helplessness. And so they started doing experiments and they started testing this, with people and really came up with this surprising answer, which was this number one factor for resilience was optimism. And it was this ability to not to, a lot of people think optimism might be tamping down on reality. That would be like me saying, oh, there's not a wave coming, right? I'm just ignoring it, right? There is no wave. And I'm just going to believe that I can do anything. And that's not reality, right? There is a wave coming. So it's not about that. It's more about um, really not going down a spiral of negativity. And he actually has a framework. He calls it the 3 Ps. And the first P is when something goes wrong, we don't take it personally, right? You don't say, okay, I brought this all on myself, and that's there's nothing that can be done. The second is pervasiveness, thinking that it's not just happening right now to this situation; it's going to happen in every single facet of my life. And the third P is uh, permanence, that it's never going to stop, right? And so that you can see how those P's can really take you down a rabbit hole. And instead, when we put an optimistic framework on it, an optimistic lens, and we look through those eyes, we can realize that, well, something might not have gone well. we don't take it too personally. I fell off. Okay, clearly I didn't know what to do, but I'm a smart person. I can learn, and in the future I can not fall, or I can learn from those mistakes and extrapolate that. So we don't take it too personally, and we learn, right? And then we don't think it's going to affect every part of our lives, and we don't hold on to it, right? We accept that it happened, and then we move on. It's not permanent. It's just a moment in time, and we keep beginning again. And so I think just adding that layer of optimism, I really think that if there's one thing people take away, it's you can be optimistic without being soft,
Mhm.
and that's just so important. And so I think optimism is key. And then there's another superpower. Actually, I'm going to pause right now because I'd love to hear what you have to add to that, because
Yeah, no, I was
you're also a change leader. So yeah,
as you were reminding me of those 3 Ps, I was thinking that right now, I think there's a collective non-optimism of things are pervasive. It's every area of our lives, and it's also permanent. This feeling of it's never going to get better, even though intellectually we know we're not going to be in pandemic forever. But there's this, whether or not we're taking it personally, there's probably not enough personal right now. It's like blaming the other. But
exactly.
I know
Yeah.
what you're saying. That's not what Seligman actually meant there. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because there is this balance. And I remember reading that book in the 90s. I'm pretty high optimism level, but that bringing in reality. And I think that's important. A really important point you brought up, that it doesn't mean you're not realistic, but you just have a different screen over it. So, Steph, is how do we take some of this information and bring it into client relationships during troubling times?
Yeah, that's a great question, and of course, extremely relevant for your audience. And with clients and relationships, what's so important is this is having empathy, right? And compassion. And so, empathy really being, and I want to make a distinction between what those two things are, because they're both really important, but they're different too. So empathy is really, being with somebody. And the good news is we're actually wired, neurobiologically, we are wired for empathy. We have these mirror neurons, so that Ellen, if you would stub your toe, I would feel pain right away. I would just feel that, because I'm wired to do that, which is amazing. Although, like anything, I get really excited about this notion of neuroplasticity, that we can what we think, do, and pay attention to, we can dial up, right? We can build more muscles, kind of like we're going to the gym. And I love this recent finding that we're not baked, that we can do this at any time. So we can actually dial up empathy by certain mindfulness practices, by basically practicing empathy. So that's really, really important. And so really being empathetic can manifest in many ways. It can be listening to somebody and just being there with them. And then I think what's really important, and we do this in coaching, is we validate how somebody's feeling. We don't have to agree with them. And certainly right now in this country, we have many different opinions, many things going on, right? We don't have to agree with somebody, but we can validate that they're frustrated, or they're sad, or they're depressed, right? And not necessarily go down that hole with them, but just validate that they feel that way and that makes sense for them and where they are. And what's really important, though, is to know that, and I have some clients like this who are so empathetic that it can actually take its toll on them. And this can be, I'm sure this can happen very often in the advisor community, where people are very empathetic, and they take on pain of their clients, and they really, really feel it deeply. And so in that situation, um, there's this kind of a mind shift that you can do. I named my company Mindfire Mastery, because I love the fact that we can tap into what's really important to us, our fire, but then we have this power of our mind, and we can shift and really build what we want. And so you can shift to compassion. And compassion it arises only when they're suffering. And it's really this ability to want to act on behalf of, to help, to be with somebody, but then to offer help. And so when we start to go there, we actually activate a different portion of our brain, this pro-social network, and we don't experience burnout. We don't experience, that pain that can happen with empathetic distress. And so empathy is great. It's hardwired, and really validating what people feel is critical. But if we find ourselves going down and getting into that hole with them and really being there for a long time, that doesn't serve anybody. And that's where passion really is an incredible superpower to be able to turn that on. And Kristen Neff, for anybody who wants to learn more about this, I think she's done so much research on this, and she holds courses on this. And I'm even taking kind of a ramping up course in compassion with her right now. But it's there's so much great stuff, and she really talks about this as being critical to resilience,
Mm.
and that they've even done studies in the military where people coming back from the military actually, the ones who are able to show self-compassion for themselves, were able to avoid post-traumatic stress disorder. Even those that were in combat are able to do this. And so it ends up being this incredible muscle, that you can use not just for others, for client relationships, but for yourself, and really pointing it towards yourself. And so in in Eastern religions, they actually don't even, or Eastern philosophies, they don't differentiate between compassion being self or other. It just is. And we start with ourselves and then we emanate outwards. So,
Yeah, one of the things I found so
yeah.
interesting in that research is that actually self-compassion can be more powerful than self-esteem. For people doing
Yes.
better in schoolwork, they did that, and recovering from a setback. And I think that's not counterintuitive. We're thinking like, oh, you need to have self-esteem, but this idea of self-compassion being such a powerful tool is not one we expect. So, Steph,
No, and that right. Yeah.
yeah,
I
will
was just going to
you
say, if I can add just one thing to that,
yes.
just one thing to add. Sorry, Ellen. Motivation and sustainable motivation. To your point, compassion really is the fuel that will keep you going longer. Self-esteem might build you up, but it's more of a short-term fix, if you will, versus that long-term motivation. So that was a great point that you added. Just wanted to build on. Mm.
Will you, walk us through or lead us through a meditation? I think, A, it would be helpful for people just to have a little bit of a break in their day, and also to give us a sense of some of the things you've been sharing with us.
Oh yeah, I would be happy to do that. And I I have a practice that is a really beautiful compassion practice, um, and a connectivity practice. So why don't we do that? And so wherever you are, however you are in this moment, I invite you right now to just drop in, um, drop into your chair, or if you're standing, or if you're sitting, just drop into a place where you can be both relaxed and alert at the same time, and just start breathing in and breathing out. And really breathe in. On your next breath, just breathe in as deeply as you possibly can. And breathe in all that is well within you right now. And on your next breath out, see if you can breathe out just a little bit longer than is usual for you. And breathe out anxiety. And just relax into this moment of us being together right now, right here, being on the same earth with our feet grounded, and feeling the earth that is connecting all of us together. And now I invite you to take your right hand and place it over your heart, and take your left hand and place that on your belly. And as you breathe, literally feel your torso expanding and contracting as the lungs just expand and contract naturally. Literally just feel the rhythm of the lungs expanding and contracting on their own. And slowly just start to slow down. And with the palm of your right hand over your heart, begin to notice your heartbeat, the rhythm of your heart. It might take you a few moments, so just let it happen. Just begin to feel that rhythm in the palm of your right hand and feel into this moment. Lungs breathing, heart beating. And just rest in this capacity we have for deepening our sense of well being right here and right now in our bodies and our breath and our being. And then consider that just like me in this moment, lungs breathing, heart beating, that there are across this planet more than 8 billion human beings at the same moment. Lungs breathing, heart beating, just like me. Wishing to be well, wishing to be appreciated, wishing to be cared for, just like me. And as you breathe in and out, see if you can feel the will within you to accept whatever it is, whatever degree you're willing to hold a broader space for differentiated beings, differentiated views, different experiences and viewpoints. And just sense into holding me and my experience, Ellen and hers, those who are standing up to have their voices heard, lungs breathing, hearts beating, just like me. And now I invite you to extend a little bit further to countless non-human animals right this moment. Lungs breathing, heart beating, just like me. And feel this sense of life, this common humanity, and this matrix of connectivity to all living beings. And know that you're not alone. And now I invite you to wish that all beings be well. May they be happy. May they be free, free from all suffering. And may they be at peace. And now for yourself. Don't forget yourself. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. May I be at peace. May all beings everywhere on this planet breathe, be nourished, be appreciated, be loved. Lungs breathing, heart beating, just like me. And as we come towards a close, just honoring the light of humanity and bringing to this this practice an intention of moving towards more effectively working and being together. Thinking about what you can uniquely offer. Now breathe in and hold that intention and ground yourself in all that is well and safe and good. And when you're ready, open your eyes and come back to the space. Thank you.
That was beautiful, Steph, and so important right now. I think that, um, at least in the United States, there's a lot of feelings of them and us. And I think that it's just highlighted right now, but we often walk through life thinking them and us, and we're so different. And I love that compassion meditation. I love that it was embodied, that we could feel it. And I know for me, that idea of wishing others well, of this idea of just like me, they want happiness, they want to be safe, they want to be loved, is something that is really easy to share with people energetically. You know, you don't have to walk down the street out loud saying, may you be happy, may you be well. You could do that. People may think that's weird, and maybe you don't care. But I know this is a practice that I do when I was traveling a lot and was in the airport. I would wish people well. And now when I'm out on my walks in the morning, I do this on a regular basis. And it just, God, what a beautiful reminder that we are all just human. So thank you so much for that. And also just for the experience
Absolutely.
of feeling what it feels like to take a breath and relax and be a little bit more centered. We just have a minute or two left, Steph, but how would you recommend that people in business incorporate some of these ideas that you've shared, whether it was resilience or taking a break for a breath or meditation? What do you recommend as something easy that people can incorporate into their day to remember to feel this way or to calm their nervous system down?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that, this practice, I wasn't timing it. It might have been around 5 minutes. And often I hear people say, I'm just so busy. I just don't have a minute in the day free. And what I find so accessible is our breath. And just so you know, we take about 23,000 breaths a day. And I know you're numbers people, so that's a lot of breaths. And so it is always available to us. And even in 1 minute or under a minute, 3 breaths, just taking 3 breaths, just finishing one Zoom call, moving to the next, or walking from one meeting to another. Those 3 breaths can make an enormous difference. We see it. We've seen it. We've researched it globally, right? It actually starts to calm our nerves down. And what's amazing is if that's just one thing you do, just being mindful of those 3 breaths, and on the first breath, just breathe. On the second one, start to think about relaxing your body. For me, I think about my shoulders and my back. I carry a lot of tension there. So I just really try to get into my body. And on the third breath, think about what's most important right now, what you're about to do. If you're walking into a meeting, what is your intention? Why are you going to that meeting? What do you want to accomplish? Whatever that is. You were talking, Ellen, about intention of wishing people well. Maybe it's that, that comes through even if you don't say it. And so just tapping into that will not only calm you down, it actually allows you to focus more and really access this higher level thinking and make better decisions. So, I that for me is just a game changer, is just knowing that we can breathe, but we're often breathing very quickly and shallowly and not mindfully. And if we can just tap into that, that's an incredible one. Another really easy one is just writing down what you're grateful for. And that starts to move us towards this more optimistic viewpoint that we talked about, which can be just a great one. And a game you can play is also just looking for 3 good things in a day, and you can actually make it a rolling list. So if something good happens, you write it down, and you try to accumulate 3 good things. And when we look for good things, we find good things. It's kind of like when you're looking for a new car. All the cars you see are that maybe the red car that you're looking for, that model, you notice it. So just, starting to actually notice, being grateful, notice good things will start to shift you. There's a negativity bias that we naturally have. And it's to protect us, right? That's why we've survived for millions of years and generations, because when something goes wrong, we remember it. And we remember it really well so it doesn't happen again. But it does not work well for us in modern society where we don't have to worry about our survival every day, typically, right? And so, five good things are needed, five positive things are needed to neutralize one negative. It's not a one for one, unfortunately. So, just, the gratitude, the looking for good things, this will help to neutralize that and then help you be more resilient. So, I would say that and the breath could be, really great foundations for moving forward.
Perfect, Steph. So on that, I would say that one of the good things on my list today was being able to spend this time with you and experience your meditation. I'm so grateful. And I
Oh, me too.
know that you have some resources for our audience here if they go to Mind, tell us where to go. Mindfiremastery.com.
Mindfiremaster.com. Right, right. Mindfire, just as it sounds. It's, mastery.com. And on my website, just if you go there, you can quickly download a number of practices for resilience. So, it's free. Just go there and you can get that. I also have a free masterclass. So, if you've got 55 minutes, you can get so much information to really go a bit deeper on that. And if you're interested in learning more about coaching or programs, any way in which I could support you, there's actually a link there to set up time for a free consultation with me on my calendar. So those are all the things you can get by taking a quick visit to mindfiremastery.com.
Great. Thank you so much, Steph. And for all
Thank you
of
so
you
much.
out there, thank you for being here. Again, my name is Ellen Rogan, and I am really excited because this Friday we have the Extraordinary Advisor Masterclass starting, and there is still time to sign up. So you can go to horsesmouth.com/masterclass and learn all about it. And for any of you out there that know that lifelong learning is a forever process and you're not sitting
Mm-hmm.
around waiting for things to get better, but you are excited about how you can go to the next stage in your business and create more income, influence, and impact, I think you'll be really thrilled to be there. And we have an amazing group of advisors that are signed up for this. There's still room for a few more of you if you're interested. Love to see you there. So thank you, as always, for being here with us today. My challenge for you
Perfect.
is how big of a positive impact are you willing to make? And to remember to be